Hello, and thank you for joining me on another DMU live stream. So today we're going to be talking about results day, which we all know is next week. So it's going to come around quicker than we realised. So it's not just myself that's going to be going for the live stream today. So just a quick introduction. So my name's Nicola. I'm part of the School and College Liaisons team, and I'm also joined by two DMU students who are going to give you their unique perspective on results day. They're going to give you their top tips and how they found the whole experience so that you can kind of hear what to expect on the day. So first of all, I'm just going to introduce Yumna. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. My name's Yumna. I have just completed my studies in postgraduate architecture, which I'm really happy about. I came in through adjustment, so I got better grades than I expected, and I decided to come to DMU to do my undergraduate, and then I applied to do my postgraduate in architecture, and here I am today, almost graduated, and I'm really excited about that.
Lovely stuff. Thank you on that. And then we've got Hunena, who's also a DMU student at the moment.
Hello, my name's Hunena, and I'm currently a business management student. So I'm still doing my undergraduate, and I just finished my first year at the university. Luckily, I was able to get through with my normal results on results day. So that was really nice because I had made DMU my firm choice as well. So everything went smoothly as expected.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, guys. So we're going to go into more depth in terms of their student journeys and how they found the results day. But just to give you a quick overview of what to expect in this live stream. So first of all, we're going to talk about results day, our top tips results day, and how you can get prepared to make sure you're ahead of the game. We're also going to talk about something called confirmation, which, if I'm honest, when I was applying for university, it's not really something that I thought about, but I do think it's quite important to have a bit of an understanding about how the whole process works behind UCAS so that you know what to expect in results day. We're also going to talk about releasing, which again, I didn't understand when I went to university. So I do think it's really important to understand this. We're also going to talk about adjustment, which Yomna can obviously give us a bit more information on because it's something that she went through. It's not really that common, I wouldn't say, Yomna. It's not really something that we get that often. So I do think we're quite fortunate that we have a student who's actually gone through this already, who can really explain it to us in detail and what to expect. We're also going to go through our top tips for results day, so how you can prepare for results day, how to manage your stress, because obviously we appreciate it's quite a stressful day, and then how to prepare post-results day. So in the interim period between getting your results and then starting university, how you can get going and make sure that you're organised and ahead of the game. So we'll just go through all of our top tips, and that's really the content we're going to go for. So first of all, we're just going to get started on results day. So for those of you that aren't aware, UCAS results day, so that is Tuesday the 10th of August. Our telephone lines open really early. Now, I think the lines are opening at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, so do check on our website. I'll pop our contact number and our WhatsApp number for you in the comments section so that you can keep that in mind just in case you do find yourself on results day needing a bit of assistance with clearing. Perhaps you want to come to your DMU for whatever reason, something doesn't go to plan, or perhaps you change your mind and you want to come to DMU. We'll pop all the contact details in there for you so that you can get in touch with us. Now, just to prepare you, obviously I'm sure you're aware, results day can be quite an emotional day. So I remember for myself, I didn't sleep the night before. I found it really stressful. It's obviously a long time coming, and the day itself can be quite a nervous one. So it's easier said than done, but do try to remember, just stay calm. There's plenty of people that have gone through it before. You've got support networks in place. I'm sure you can speak to your friends and family. And then obviously universities themselves will be there to support you as well. Try not to panic. There's plenty of support, as I say, and you can definitely get in touch with universities if you need any further advice. Do be prepared for an early start. So check with your school and college to understand how they're going to send out your results to you. So back in my day, a couple of years ago, we had our results physically given to us on a bit of paper. So we had to go and pick them up from our college. You might find that perhaps now your school and college give that to you electric. So you might have that through some sort of portal or something that you log into, or you might have to go and physically pick up your results. So if you don't know just yet, do check how you can expect to receive results so that you know how to prepare on the day. Make sure you avoid going on holiday or being unable to contact university, so that in the instance that you aren't in your firm choice or your insurance choice, perhaps you do need to come through clearing or something like that. If you're at home and you've got access to Wi-Fi and a telephone, it'll be a lot easier for you to manage the day because it does happen really quickly. So do try to make sure that you are able to access those facilities on the day rather than being abroad or on holiday or something like that. It would just make your day that little bit more stressful if things don't go to plan. Do keep your UCAS details to hand, so make sure you've got your UCAS ID, make sure you've got access to your results, your GCSE qualifications, depending on the courses that you're doing, that might still be important. And make sure you have access to UCAS Track so that you can log in the morning when it opens. I believe it's about 8:30 it goes live, something like that, so that you can check your result status and see if you've gotten into your firm or your insurance choice, or if perhaps things haven't gone to plan, if you have been released into clearing. So what will happen is you'll have a look at your results, make sure you understand what they mean, particularly for something like a BTEC, it can be a bit more complex, whereas with A-levels, the grades are quite clear to understand, but just make sure that you understand the results and that you know what you have actually achieved. And I think we just want to talk about the student experience. So Yomna and Hanina, so if we start with Yomna first, I know you mentioned that you came through adjustment. Do you want to just explain what your day was like, kind of how you prepared and how it all went for you?
Yeah, so like you were saying, I woke up and was feeling a mixture of feelings. A little bit, it was a bit daunting, so I was a bit anxious, but I was also really excited because it was like, oh my God, this is my future. And I'm so excited to kind of see how well I've done. And because I was really confident. I worked really hard in my A-levels, and I had all the confidence in myself that I was going to do well. My teachers as well had a lot of confidence in me. So it was kind of all building up to the moment of opening the letter, which I can't lie, it was really, really nerve-wracking. But when I opened it and saw that I'd got 2 Bs and 2 Cs, which I actually was expecting to get 1 B and 3 Cs, which was what was required of me to get into the universities that I'd applied to, which was Nottingham Trent University and Sheffield Hallam University. Nottingham Trent was my firm, Sheffield Hallam was my kind of second insurance choice. We had 2 choices. I'm not sure if that's the same with schools now, but I was so happy. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to accept my firm choice, even though I've done better than what was expected of me. And also one little thing to note is that on the day, I was kind of looking around me. I wasn't just looking at my own results. I was looking at other people's results, and there was 4 people in my sixth form who got 4 A stars, which was absolutely amazing. Like, they were all elated, and I kind of at first I was like, oh, they've done so much better than me. Like, I was kind of comparing myself, but then I realized, you know, everyone's on their own journey, and the worst thing that you can do is compare yourself to others, because there's always going to be someone who's done better than you, who's gone to a better university. I mean, I don't really think that universities are better than each other. I think every university is unique in its own way, and some universities have their own kind of, you know, every university is the best in a certain quality. There's no such thing as this university is better than that university, and every student experience is different. So I wasn't too concerned about the fact that, you know, they'd got 4 A stars, so they were, you know, going to really, really good unis. I kind of decided, okay, I'm just going to focus on myself, and I'm going to focus on what's the next step for me now, because I've done really well. I spoke to my teachers and my sixth form leader, and he said the best thing for you to do now is to kind of look through other universities that are kind of a bit higher in terms of on the I can't remember what it's called, you know, those lists of universities for certain courses on like the Guardian. And yeah, so I saw that De Montfort University was quite high up on the list for architecture. So I decided that I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to phone up the clearing line and see what happens, and, you know, let them know that I've actually done better than expected, and that I want to come in through adjustment. And I sent through my portfolio, and it literally only took about an hour for me to get into contact with a member of staff in the School of Architecture. They looked at my portfolio, and they said it was really good. They were really happy with it, and I got the offer. And then from that point, it was like another moment of celebration, because I'd got into another university, but then I had three universities that I'd had an offer from, and so that was a little bit stressful, because I kind of like saw the good in all the universities, and I knew that I could benefit from all of them in terms of, you know, studying there and my student experience. So I just decided to kind of go with my gut feeling. I think you've got a gut feeling, and you just got to go with that and just put your faith in your gut feeling. I'm also quite religious, so I did pray as well. that I made the best choice, and I just kind of I went with DMU, and here I am today. Finished my postgraduate in architecture, which I'm so pleased about, and I'm so excited to kind of share my journey and hopefully impart some wisdom on some prospective students that were in the same position as me. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Yomna. So I think Yomna had quite a unique experience in the way that it happened for you. I suppose as much as if things had gone not to plan, it probably was just as stressful because it's like, okay, now I've got to narrow down even more universities when you thought you'd already made the decision. So yeah, definitely a tricky one. Can't have been the easiest decision, but I'm glad it all worked out for you. And obviously you loved it enough to stay on for a postgraduate course. So it's obviously the right decision for you. So that's great to hear. Hinena, how was your experience on results day? What were your tips? How did you prepare for it?
So in comparison to Yomna, I felt like my experience was quite different because it was during the COVID situation. So instead of getting it on paper, which you're used to obviously for your GCSEs as well, and that's what I expected, I was given obviously through online. So I accessed the system through my house, and I was a bit worried, honestly, because I knew that I had been doing well in my A levels, but the only issue was that I wasn't able to give my exams. So I felt like that would perhaps take away my potential. And as Yomna said, it is quite nerve-wracking, isn't it? So obviously I woke up and I was kind of prepared, and I checked the time and I was like, okay, now it's time to actually check my results. And I sat down, and if I'm completely honest, when I did open them, I had mixed feelings. I was partly happy with the results I got, but partly disappointed as well because I felt like I could do better. But that didn't stop me because I was like, okay, you know what? What's done is done, and now it's looking forward to obviously my future journey. And again, when it comes to like the university, because of so much uncertainty, I was a bit unsure as to which university I wanted to choose. I was like, should I go out of Leicester or should I stay in? And initially I wanted to move out, but then regarding everything, the current situations and seeing how good DMU was through obviously friends and other reviews that I had spoken to, I felt that DMU was the best choice for me. And I'm so glad that I did go for that because I think results day is quite a nerve-wracking and scary experience. So the last thing you want is for your university to be stressing you out. And that really did help when it came to DMU because I was a lot more revealed. I was like, yes, relieved, sorry. I was like, yes, I got all the results that I wanted and I can go through with my journey without any problems coming up ahead. So I was like, I'm really glad that DMU was able to make that journey a lot more easier for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear that it all kind of went to plan for you. Do bear in mind, obviously, that you kind of just don't know how it's going to go this year. We appreciate that in particular, the students this year might not have even sat exams for their results. So you kind of don't really know how the day's going to go. I think for me, I kind of knew how, in theory, my results were going to go because I had a gut feeling from exams and that type of thing, like how well I thought I did. Perhaps there was some content I wasn't prepared for, that type of thing. But we appreciate that some of the students this year are in quite a unique position in that they might not really know how the results are going to go. So do bear in mind that if you do find yourself in perhaps a stressful situation, you need some advice, you can definitely get in contact with our teams. I will be popping the contact details into the comment section. I haven't forgotten. So we'll definitely pop that in there. So if you do need any advice on the day, do just get in touch with us. We'll obviously be more than happy to help. There'll be people like Yomna and myself that will be there on the phone. So definitely do give us a call. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about quickly is confirmation. So it's perhaps not a word that I was that familiar with when we were going through results day when I was applying for university, but I just want to give a bit of an overview on what to expect on the day and how it will all work. Because I think for me, I was just kind of so overwhelmed with stressing about my exams that I never really thought about and my results. I never really thought about how the actual day would go. I kind of just thought, well, I'd go and pick up my results, and that was all I could think of because I was just a bit overwhelmed by it all. So it's best to kind of have a bit of understanding just to know what you can expect on the day. So what should typically happen is that from about 8:30 onwards, your UCAS track will be updated. Now, what will happen is if you have a firm and insurance choice on UCAS, UCAS obviously sends over your grades to the university already, and they will make decisions on whether they can confirm you or whether you don't quite meet their entry criteria, perhaps the course has been filled, that type of thing. So what will happen is that the university or UCAS track will explain your situation in terms of whether your place has been confirmed. So for instance, If you meet the entry criteria for your firm choice, automatically your application goes with them, and you'll proceed further with that. Say for instance, you don't quite meet the criteria for your firm choice, but you do meet the criteria for your insurance choice, then your application automatically falls with them, and then your insurance choice will confirm you. So your application lies with your insurance choice. Now, if in the instance you don't meet the criteria for either your firm or your insurance choice, automatically you'll be released into something called clearing. Now, we have done many a live stream about clearing, but essentially what that means is that clearing is for applicants who either don't hold any offers on UCAS, so say for instance, they didn't get into their firm or their insurance choices, or perhaps you might be a late applicant, and it's never too late. In theory, you can get in touch with the universities and see if perhaps on results day they do have any places that are freed up, because there's every chance that there might be, or perhaps there's a course that's still accepting applications for. You can get in touch with the universities and see if perhaps you are eligible to have an offer made. So if you do find yourself in that instance, try not to fret. It is one of those where clearing can sometimes get a sort of negative connotation for people that don't get into the family insurance choices. But personally, my advice would be to see it as an opportunity to still get into a good university on a course that you're really interested in, something that's going to be really good for you. So if you do find yourself in that situation, as much as it can be very stressful and it might be quite a shock, do just kind of have a look at your options, speak to universities. All of us will update our website. So we have a clearing website on our main landing page. It'll have a contact number, our WhatsApp number, a list of all the courses, their criteria, and whether we're still accepting applications, or perhaps there's a waiting list or something like that. So do check on the university's website, get in touch with us if you just need some clarification, because sometimes it can be so overwhelming on the day. If you'd rather just speak with us, WhatsApp us, call us, whatever you would prefer, you can definitely get in touch with the universities, and we'll be more than happy to help you in any way that we can, even if it's just offer some advice on your options, anything like that. Do just get in touch with us. So what should happen is that if you obviously do your UCAS track, your results should be on there. If for whatever reason your results haven't been updated on there, if a decision hasn't been made on the UCAS track, alternatively, you can also get in touch with your chosen university to confirm whether you do have a place or not. So do get in touch with the universities as well. Just remember that it's from 8:30 onwards that we can let you know about confirmation decisions, but not before then. So do just remember that as well. Now, I just want to quickly check the students' experiences. So Yomna, how did you find your UCAS track? So I appreciate, obviously, you would have gotten into your firm choice on the day. How did you find all of that? Do you remember kind of logging into your UCAS track? Do you remember how it all happened for you?
Yeah, so after I got my results, I knew straight away that I needed to go on UCAS and check that my firm had been accepted. And when I saw it was accepted, I was really, really happy and really pleased with that on UCAS track. This was back in 2016, so it was quite a long time ago. So it's very different to how the system works now. But when I saw that it had been confirmed and accepted, I knew that I had to make the decision quickly as to whether I was going to go ahead with that confirmation, or whether I was going to change my decision and go with Montfort University. So it was a case of like having to make sure that I make the right phone calls and speak to the right people. And thankfully the team at DMU were really friendly and really helpful in terms of kind of guiding me in the right direction to who I needed to speak to kind of get my application through. And I would say that I spoke to a lot of different universities, and I think DMU were on the phones, they were genuinely the friendliest and kind of the most reassuring in terms of helping guiding me through the process of like a kind of not a last minute application, but like quite a late application, because this was like quite late on in the year. It definitely wasn't stress-free, but it helps to have someone on the other end of the phone who understands that this is kind of time critical. And I'm really pleased with how it all went.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, so obviously, as Yomna mentioned, she gave DMU a call on the day. So we have hundreds of members of staff who are trained in clearing, and they'll be on the telephone lines, and they've all been trained to support you in any way that we can. We're all a friendly bunch. It's one of those cliches, but it really is very true that we're all kind of a friendly bunch here at DMU. So if you do find yourself in a unique position where you do want to give us a call just for some advice, perhaps you are considering clearing or a course of ours, do give us a call on the day. We'll definitely be happy to help and assist in any way that we can. Hunayna, how did you find checking into UCAS track? Like, do you remember how it was? I think yours was probably a lot more recent than mine, so you probably remember it a bit better than I do.
Yeah, it was quite similar as to just obviously going on to UCAS track and checking in to see if obviously I had gotten through. And I was quite lucky, like I said, because DMU was my firm choice. So I think it was kind of an unconditional offer as well, but still I wanted those good grades obviously to get in. And I went to UCAS and it was accepted, and it was a big sigh of relief, if I'm honest. I was like, oh, thank God. And I think on that same day I got the acceptance letter as well. I think that came through as well on my post, which I was quite surprised about. I was like, wow, the university was quite quick with it, which is really nice, because it's like it kind of initiates, oh yeah, your journey is going to start with the university and you're not held up waiting for too long. So even though I didn't have to obviously go through any processes in terms of making phone calls or anything, I think the university still handled it quite well in terms of making sure that I was reassured with everything, and I was like, oh yes, everything's all sorted now.
That's good to hear that you had such a positive experience. I do think there's something to be said about having like a physical letter, like 100% this is confirmed. Obviously UCAS track confirms it anyway, but it is quite nice to have that letter, that personal touch, to know we are thinking of you and well done. So no, that's great to hear you both had relatively positive experiences. Yours sounds a little bit more stressful. I don't know how I would have managed that, but yeah, no, that's great to hear that you both had such positive experiences on the day. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to discuss is releasing your place, which again, I mean, if I'm honest, when I was applying for university, I don't think I was aware of any of these things really. I kind of just thought it's farmer insurance or clearing. I didn't really understand sort of how the processes work behind it. So if you are tuning in, it's a great position to be in, so that you've got that additional information behind you. So we'll just explain how that works. So essentially what happens is that if you don't meet the criteria for your firm choice, you will then obviously go with your insurance choice, as I've mentioned before. Releasing yourself from your firm choice will not automatically place you into your insurance choice, and you will be placed into clearing. So I think from experience of last year, it's a common perhaps misconception that students have, that say for instance they've applied for pharmacy with DMU and we are their insurance choice. Unfortunately, some students perhaps don't quite understand how the process works. So if we're your insurance choice on UCAS and your firm choice has accepted you, automatically you are placed with your firm choice. It doesn't necessarily mean that even though we were your insurance choice on UCAS, that there is still a place there for you, because obviously the course might have filled in the meanwhile. So my advice would be to make sure that if you do find yourself in a situation where you would want to perhaps go to your insurance choice, or perhaps you do want to be entered into clearing, it's best to make sure you get a verbal offer from the university you're interested in before you release yourself, to ensure that you have a position secured. So last year there was a particular student who I can't forget, who came on the phones with us. She had us as her insurance choice on UCAS for pharmacy, and she had automatically met the criteria for her firm choice, so automatically her application went with the firm choice. Now, unfortunately, the student changed her mind and decided she still wanted to come to DMU, which I can't blame her, because it's a great university, and as you can see, we are a friendly bunch. But essentially what happened is that she released herself from her firm choice, and thought that would automatically mean that her place with her insurance choice was secure. After a few days, obviously, there's no change to her UCAS track, so she gave us a call, and what she hadn't realised is that by releasing herself from her firm choice, she had actually entered herself into clearing, which was why there was no change to her UCAS track. So please don't find yourself in that position. If in doubt, give the university a call. Make sure that they can still hold your place, because for certain courses, there are limited places, things like nursing, midwifery, diagnostic radiography, pharmacy, things like that. These courses have very limited places because they involve placements and labs and that type of thing. So we can't, unfortunately, accept as many students as possible. So do just make sure you get in touch with the university, and then once you do have a verbal offer, of course, if you do want to release yourself from the other university that you have on track, then you can do, and then you can update your new offer on UCAS track and perhaps add them as a clearing choice or something like that. So do check with the university is the takeaway message. Don't make any changes to your UCAS track hastily, because, for instance, if you do release yourself from a university and then decide a few days later, actually, I wish I had gone with that university, you might find that place is now gone. As I say, particularly for competitive courses with limited spaces. So do just bear that in mind with any decisions that you make. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is adjustment, and obviously Yomna's gone over this, but I just want to give a bit more of an in-depth, a bit of an in-depth overview about adjustment and how it really works. Okay, so adjustment essentially occurs when an applicant exceeds the offer for at least one of your offers. So say, for instance, you have a firm and insurance choice on UCAS, your firm choice asks for 120 UCAS points, but perhaps you achieve 125, 130, something like that, then you technically would be able to be in something called adjustment, which is where you've exceeded the offer that you have placed on UCAS track. Now you can actually find another place without using your original place, and that's obviously what Yomna did. So she could still see what her options were, still see if there was anything else that perhaps she wanted to do, and that's what she did. So she got in touch with DMU, found out that she could actually get a place with us, and then she obviously proceeded onwards to add that as her choice on track. Now you have 5 calendar days to research and secure an alternative place. So bear in mind, obviously, results day on the 10th, you'll have 5 days after results day to research and secure an alternative place. But do bear in mind that the quicker you move with everything on results day, the better, really, because courses do tend to fill up really quickly, particularly if it's something that's competitive, that has limited spaces. The courses themselves can get really full very quickly. For instance, some of our courses at the moment we're not even accepting applications for during clearing, but that might change on results day, so do just bear that in mind. So it's important to not rush into a decision, but then also to find the balance to make sure that you have conducted the right research and make sure you're happy with the location, the campus, everything like that. So do bear that in mind and make sure that you've got your criteria and that you don't kind of stray away from this just in the kind of whirlwind of it all. Yomna, I know that obviously you've mentioned about adjustment and how it happened for you. How did you make your decisions about which other universities to consider? I appreciate, obviously, it would have been quite overwhelming to all of a sudden have this all new choice that you perhaps didn't know that you had, because obviously you did exceed the criteria that you thought you were going to achieve. How did you kind of do your research and decide which universities to go for?
I first of all checked the Guardian list of universities for each course, and I then went and clicked on the top universities and kind of went down the list slowly for each university. And I didn't just judge it based on where they were in terms of how high up they were on the list. I kind of judged it more on student experience. So I kind of researched what other students what their experience was at different universities. I researched the cities that the university was in. I researched the resources available at the university, and when I was researching DMU, I found out that there was the Vijay Patel complex that recently. So when I first started, when I was kind of applying, it had only just been completed. So it was something that was kind of all over the marketing, and that really caught my attention. And I researched more into it, and I found that the facilities in Vijay Patel really fit really well with the course that I wanted to do, which was architecture. So Vijay Patel has the wood workshop, it has the plastic making workshop, it has a plaster workshop, it has so many different materials at your disposal to use in terms of kind of making your designs and kind of bringing your 3D designs to life. And I felt like that was something that was really exciting about the course, and it really drew me in. And I think that's pretty much it. I just kind of looked at the facilities of all the different universities, looked at the student experiences, and I think DMU really stood out in terms of those two criteria. There's other research that you can do in terms of employability as well, like how what is the employability like in terms of students graduating. But I think when I was researching, I was more focused on kind of the experience of what it's like at that university, because you aren't really thinking about, because employment seems so far away in the future. But when you're at university, time goes really, really fast. Those 3 years in your undergraduate are going to go really fast, and then you're going to suddenly find yourself kind of in the world of employment, and you'll realize that your A-level results, they're not going to have the massive impact on kind of future employment. They're kind of just there. They're just part of your student journey, and you might get the results that you wanted, you might not, but don't let it dishearten you. Don't let it kind of stop you from pursuing whatever ambitions it is that you have.
Definitely good advice from Yomna. Yomna does give good advice, I would definitely say. Yeah, so obviously, Hanani, you obviously didn't experience adjustments, so we won't go into that too much. But I know we briefly mentioned on employability there. I think it's actually quite fitting, actually, that I quickly mentioned that DMU actually was recently awarded the Best University Careers and Employability Service for our team called DMU Works, and that was at the NUE Award in 2021. So definitely employability is something that I think a lot of students are more and more thinking about, just because it is such a competitive graduate market. And obviously, if you're thinking about doing things like placement years or graduate schemes, that type of thing, when you finish university, it is quite important that you consider whether you're going to have that support in place to help you get to where you need to be, and obviously where you want to be in the future. So do just bear in mind, obviously, to consider things like employability. We're very proud of our employability team, who really do go above and beyond to help students with their applications for placement years, graduate programs, that type of thing, just to make sure that our students are getting to where they need to be and they've got that support network in place to get them where they want to be, really. So definitely do have a look into that. We've had a couple of questions come through. Now, unfortunately, we did have some earlier questions about specific applications. We've had a couple of questions come in about students asking about CAS letters and that type of thing. I do just want to reiterate that unfortunately we can't give any specific advice in this live stream about application statuses and things like that. So I have popped the inquiry team's contact details in the comment section. So if you do have any specific questions about your particular application, please do get in touch with the team, and they will definitely be happy to get back to you. I know they will. So definitely, we've got WhatsApp, email, and a telephone line. So however it suits you, please do get in touch with the team. So we'll just have a quick look at some of the questions. So we've got one question that has come in from Michael, which I'll just pull up. It's not necessarily related to results day, but I do just want to touch upon this. So we've got a question from Michael, which is, what if I decided to do a gap year and do a supported internship and defer? How would that benefit me? Now, Michael, there is no really right or wrong answer to this type of thing. So it's very much, it's unique to your own circumstances. So some people might decide that they would like to take a gap year. And if you have applied to DMU and it is something that you are considering, do get in touch with our teams on the contact details that I've popped in the comment section there. If you are looking to defer, then it might be something that we can definitely facilitate for you if you've applied for the first time with us. It's very much, it's a judgment call, really. So some people do like to do a gap year before they come to university, just to have a bit of time. If you're perhaps unsure about what you want to do and you just want to confirm that perhaps the course you're doing is the right decision for you, then a gap year might be a good idea for you. I would advise it's very much something that you need to decide in terms of whether you would like to attend university straight away, and perhaps you're not sure about your course. Perhaps speak with your friends and family members, your teachers, your tutors, that type of thing. These types of people probably know you best and be able to advise you on what they think will be best for you. But it's definitely a judgment call. There's no right or wrong. Some students do take a gap year. Some students just go straight from their previous studies straight into university. It's entirely up to yourself, really. There's no right or wrong. It's not frowned upon in any way to take a gap year. It's entirely up to yourself, really, Michael. So I hope that answered your question there. Let me just see if there's any more questions. Okay, lovely stuff. We've got a few other specific questions that have come in from students. Do bear in mind, obviously, as I mentioned, we've got the inquiry team's contact details in the comment section. Do drop them a message or give them a call or a WhatsApp or something like that, and the team will be able to help you with those specific questions that are coming up at the moment. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is top tips for preparing for results day. So a couple of tips that I just wanted to mention is, if I had my time again, if I was going through the whole university application process again, and I could prepare for my results day again, there are a couple of things I would do the same. I tried to get an early night the night before. For me, I'm the type of person where if I'm overthinking, I do struggle to sleep. So definitely, if you are in the same situation, do try and get an early night just to make sure you're nice and refreshed for what might be a very busy day the next day. Obviously, you're going to have a lot to consider, perhaps. You might even be celebrating your results. I know that my friends and I went out that evening. We all really enjoyed ourselves celebrating our results. So do try and organise something fun to look forward to at the end of the day, so that regardless of what happens with results day, you've got something nice to look forward to. You're going to see your friends and everybody else going in the same position as yourself. So do just bear that in mind. I would also recommend to kind of, and this is not something that I did on results day, but again, if I had my time again, this is what I would do with a bit more experience about the whole process. I would perhaps have a list of alternative universities, and it's not too late to do your research on that right now. So say, for instance, you're applying for a particular course, have a look and just see which other universities offer the course that you might be interested in. Perhaps it was the other 3 universities that you had on UCAS track that you didn't select for your firm or insurance choices. Perhaps now you've looked at other universities that you might want to consider. Perhaps have a list of these written down so that if on results day you do find yourself in a position that you are entered into clearing, or perhaps you do change your mind on the day, you've at least got some universities that you can get in contact with, so that way you're sort of making informed decisions rather than just contacting any university that you can get in touch with. That would probably be my advice, really. What would you guys advise on results day if you had your time again? I appreciate neither of you came through clearing or anything like that, but how would you prepare again if you had your time?
I totally agree with you, Nicola. I would say getting an early night and getting a good night's sleep is really important, because it's going to be a very busy day, and there are going to be moments that are stressful. So, having a good night's sleep just means you've got a clear head. You can think clearly. I think when it was my results day, I didn't sleep very well that night, because obviously you do stress a lot and you overthink a lot. And when I woke up, I think it definitely does have an impact on you in terms of decision making, not sleeping well. So if you do get out that early night, the decisions that you make, you'll be able to have like a clear mind. I totally agree with the idea of planning something fun at the end of the day, because it's going to be a stressful experience, because you're transitioning from being at sixth form to taking the big step to university, and that can be quite it can be a transition that's you're not going to be familiar with it. It's going to be completely new, so it's going to require a lot of kind of research, a lot of kind of focus, and a lot of patience as well, because you might find yourself on the phone for waiting for an hour. Some clearing lines, they can be very, very busy. I think it's the same with DMU, but again, like Nicola was saying, hundreds of staff that are there available to talk to you, from very early in the morning, from 6 a.m. So the sooner you get on those phone lines, I think the better the better the outcome will be for you. But at the same time, don't rush into any decisions without kind of sitting and weighing up your options. If you do rush, if you kind of, and you don't kind of sit and kind of consider it, or maybe speak to your parents or your teachers on the day, then you might find yourself kind of not, I wouldn't necessarily say regretting your decision, but you might find yourself kind of wishing that you'd spent a bit more time thinking about it and weighing up your options. I was advised that to take my time and really weigh up my options and think about what is best for me. But ultimately, I mean, whatever decision you make, there's no such thing as the wrong decision. It's just about that's part of your journey. You might choose a university, start the course, and a month in you decide this isn't really for me. You can kind of very easily just decide to transition to another course, or maybe to a different university. There's a whole process in that, but it's not like you've chosen this university and that's it, that's the end. You can't go back on your decision. You can always go back on your decision. And it's a process. It's a learning process. You learn as you go along, and you'll make mistakes, but I mean that's just kind of how life is.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, to reiterate that, it is really important that you don't rush into any decisions. It is obviously it's such a huge day, and you don't want to kind of miss out on any opportunities by not making any action. But you do also need to remember that you don't want to rush into a choice and perhaps regret it at a later date. I think it's important to try and find the balance. I know I've said it before, but I will just reiterate. It's important to try and find the balance between acting quick enough to make sure that you get a place before your course perhaps has been filled, but also not acting so quick and rushing into a decision that you might regret at a later date. So do kind of bear that in mind to try and find that sweet spot between the two. Okay, Helena, what would you say your tips would be for results day? How would you manage it differently, if at all? If you could tell yourself a year ago, I appreciate you are quite new to the process in terms of obviously only having started this year. So you perhaps might not have that much of a difference in terms of how you would manage it. But if you could, are there any changes that you'd make or any advice you'd like to give?
So I think I agree definitely with both of you in terms of sleep. Sleep is 100%. I know it's easier to say because you're stressing a lot, so you can't find sleep sometimes. But if you're well rested, then again, you make better decisions. You're not likely to get irritated easily, so you'll be more level-headed. So 100% in terms of sleep. I think my second one would be to stay calm because obviously I was taking my results through online, so it was a bit more nerve-wracking because I was kind of alone. I didn't really have my teachers there in front of me or students or my friends who would usually be there to in order to like share the experience like firsthand. So I would definitely say just remain calm, like whatever the results are going to be, you've done your best, you've taken the exams, or if you haven't, you've done your best throughout the whole process, and what's done is done now, and you can only just look forward to the future. And if it doesn't go your way, then it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. There's always other options, like you said, maybe perhaps through clearing or perhaps even taking the opportunity to take a gap year or anything that best suits you. And another thing I'd say is being positive about it as well. I know that when I didn't get the results that I was expecting, I instantly thought, oh my God, that's it. Like the university has not accepted me. But obviously when I went through UCAS and I was like, oh, okay, they did accept me. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So I think not being too harsh on yourself is a big thing, because when it comes to results, you often build up this pressure that I have to perform or be a certain way, whether it's from friends or just the pressure you put on yourself or like from family that, oh, I have to do something in order to get like certain grades. I think it's just, relax and just don't be too harsh on yourself. And again, talking to, I'd say, classmates and friends 100%, because nobody's going to understand your situation better than they would. I know, like, perhaps you might have siblings who have gone to university, but every year group has a different experience, and COVID has taught us that. So I think 100% talking to your friends, is a really good way to experience that, oh yeah, I'm not just alone, I'm not the only one who's having these fears. So if that's something that I would do different, is 100% not being as harsh on myself, because like you said, AO levels isn't the end of the world. You're just learning, so you're not going to be perfect in the start. So I made it to university, and it's really good because I was looking forward to it since I was young, so it all works out in the end, I think.
Definitely. It does definitely work out how it's supposed to. I think when I was 18, I didn't really believe in that type of thing, but I think I do now believe that things do work out as they're meant to. As long as you obviously make informed decisions and you've done your research, etc., you will end up where you are supposed to. And I do think everything will work out in the long run. So do just bear that in mind. It is supposed to be an exciting day as well. It's not all doom and gloom. It can be really exciting, like in Yomna's position. She got into both of our universities. She actually exceeded her results. Helena obviously got into the university that she'd originally applied for. So it's exciting, it's stressful, don't get me wrong, but it is also an exciting day to get started on the final steps to university journey. Speaking of it, the final section we kind of wanted to cover is post-results day. So that is how to prepare for the interim period between when you get your results and results day, which is, just to reiterate, the 10th of August, so not long now. And then obviously starting university. So each university that you apply for will have its own unique start date. Do double check when that will be. And it's important that once you have your results, because it can be so overwhelming waiting for your results, you don't kind of want to just let the time slip away from you. So we just want to give you a few tips on like how to manage your time in between results day and starting university, which is typically in September or perhaps early October time. So my tips would be to kind of get organised. So if, for instance, you haven't gone to your firm or insurance choice, say, for instance, you have gone through clearing or even your insurance choice, you'll still need to apply for accommodation if you are looking to live on campus. Now, there's no right or wrong. A lot of students do still commute in. If that's your preference, that's completely fine. You'll still have a great university experience. But if you are looking to consider accommodation, so if it's not your firm choice where you've already applied for accommodation, perhaps you're going to insurance or a clearing choice, you will need to think about accommodation and get applying. So do just bear that in mind. Speak with the university. You might find that if you go through clearing or something like that, they'll speak with you about accommodation anyway. But speak to the university to organise your accommodation. Make sure that's something that you prioritise, because all the best halls do get booked up really quickly. So do just bear that in mind. In terms of accommodation, there's loads of different options, regardless of who you are and what your personal circumstances might be, budgets, if perhaps you want a studio or something like that. do bear in mind there's plenty of accommodation that will be available. There's halls, which is university-owned accommodation, or perhaps private accommodation for you to consider. It's entirely your decision what you'd like to do, or if perhaps you are commuting from home, you might want to look at things like transport, how are you going to get to and from campus, that type of thing. So do just make sure you're organised with accommodation. The next thing I would recommend to start organising is perhaps make a list of all the things that you're going to need to get. So obviously things like bedding, cookery stuff, kitchenware. Is there anything else that you're going to need stationery-wise, getting your room set up, all those types of good things that you're going to need. But when you move into university, do make sure you get those lists ready and start preparing those things before you move into university. If you are moving away, do just bear in mind all of these things. And then also learn to cook would be a great tip. It's something I didn't do before I went to university, and I massively regretted it because I kind of ate like the same 3 or 4 meals that I had learned how to cook. I think most university students in their first year are just living on pasta, which eventually you do get really sick of. So pasta and pot noodles is not the way. If you do have a bit of time in the summer period between your results day and starting university, especially with results day being quite early this year, you've got more time than ever before to get organised, learn to cook, speak to your parents, friends, family members, whoever it is, guardians, whoever you're living with. Just ask them to show you a few simple meals that you can easily cook so that when you get to uni, you're not kind of living on unhealthy food straight away. Although I do think it is kind of part of the fun of starting. You do kind of think like, oh great, I can eat whatever I want now, but then it does kind of get a bit boring after a while. I don't know if you guys would agree. What did you guys kind of do to prepare for university when you did find out you were going?
I totally agree with you. Like just learning to cook your own meals is so important. And I think initially, like I would go in the kitchen with my mum and kind of observe like what she was doing, and kind of she was a very highly skilled cook, so I knew I couldn't get to that level, but I knew I should at least try. But then yeah, so knowing how to cook, knowing just basic things like how to do your own laundry, those are things that you're not really too aware of before you actually move into your accommodation. But when you do move in, you realize, oh god, I don't even know how to do my laundry. But eventually you do learn, and you got your flatmates there to support you. I would say one thing I kind of wish that I did do to prepare was to decide what I should take and what I shouldn't take, because the temptation is to just take everything you've ever owned in your whole life with you, like all of your clothes, everything, and I would advise against that, because you're not going to wear every t-shirt you've ever worn since you were like 40. I don't know about you, but I have so many clothes, and I know I'm not going to wear them all when I'm at university. And for me as well, like I commuted a lot. Like at weekends I would go home, and sometimes I would just, because I don't live very far. I live in Derby, which is only like a half an hour commute to Leicester. So some weeks I would commute, and some weeks I would stay in accommodation if kind of coursework and my deadlines were a little bit intense, I would stay. But I did find that when I was kind of unpacking, when I first moved into my accommodation, it just took so long, because I just took so much with me. So I think you really need to be quite concise about what it is that you want to take with you, and not kind of worry about taking with you like a spatula from your kitchen, because your flatmates will be there, they'll have stuff that you don't have and you can share.
Yeah.
And I would also say like a really good thing to do is to do as much research as possible. Like I watched a lot of student vlogs on YouTube. I know DMU has a lot of student vlogs that are really helpful in terms of getting you prepared for university, and there's loads of great top tips there. So I'd really I think that's really important to kind of look into.
Yeah, that's definitely a good tip there, Yomna. I think I didn't look at student blogs. I do regret it, because I think once I was in university, I realised that there were these YouTube pages that were set up by existing students who mentioned that everything you need to pack and all the kitchenware you need and don't need and all of those things. And all I remember is going to IKEA with my mum, and I bought so much random stuff that she's like, you don't need that. You don't need that. And I was like, no, I do. I need it. I need all of it. And I literally bought like these little kits to make your own ice lollies at home. Like, when was I going to be using that in university? I don't know what planet I was on. And I bought like silly things like ice cube trays. Like, you don't need ice cube trays. You just buy bags of ice if you're having people over. Like, it's just not. Do you know what I mean? Just random stuff that I did not need. And then I forgot like really useful things like extension leads. Like you're obviously going to need extension leads. You'll probably have like 1 or 2 sockets in the room that you're staying in. And I didn't bring a lamp, and all those useful things that you actually do need, I didn't bring. But the most random stuff I definitely did not need. It was such a waste of money. So don't do what I did. Don't go to IKEA and just kind of lose your mind and just think I need everything in this room, because you don't. But yeah, Helena, how did you find prepping for uni? Like, what did you do to get sorted?
So I, unlike you guys, I didn't move out into accommodation because I'm from Leicester. So regarding the circumstances, I was like, I don't really know if I need to. But in order of preparing for university, I think I was more focused on preparing myself. So I was like, it's going to be different than I expected, because I don't know, since I was young, I always looked forward to university. It just kind of felt like the final step before you join like work and you go into like adulthood. So I was like, okay, so it's not going to be what you expected in terms of always being able to go into lectures and, you know, seminars. But I think I was still glad. I think if I didn't prepare myself that it's going to be different, I would have panicked, because it would have been completely opposite to what I expected. But I was preparing myself in terms of equipment that I needed, I guess. So I think my laptop was running quite bad. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out what stuff that I need to get. And it's kind of, you kind of learn that budget control as well, that I shouldn't go overboard. Like, I know you get like a lot of money from student, obviously, maintenance loans. So I think you kind of teach yourself a bit of self-control. So I think that's quite a good idea early on, because it is quite tempting to get everything and anything that you want, isn't it? Especially when you have money available.
For
So
sure.
I think
I think the first time that first maintenance loan drops in your bank account,
yeah,
it's
like,
like,
oh my God, how should I spend it? Just not get anything.
I was like, okay, I just need to remember that my rent and my bills still need to come out of this. It's not just free money. I still have to
free money. Exactly.
Yeah, so definitely be organised. And I think money management is one of the best things that university does teach you, obviously, aside from the academics and all that good stuff. I do think I was always quite a good saver. I was never like a crazy spender, but I do think university kind of like refined my skills in terms of being sensible with money and making sure I paid out my bigger bills and that type of thing first. So yeah, definitely do as Helena said, don't go crazy, don't buy everything, manage your finances, because obviously that student finance drop, that first one is really exciting when you get that text message like the money's coming and you just keep checking your bank account. It's quite a thrill, to be fair, I won't lie, but then you have to kind of remind yourself, okay, what do I need to pay out of this money, how long does it need to last me for, do I need to budget and that type of thing. So do just bear that in mind. Yeah, I think that would be my main tips in terms of post-results day. Also, you can obviously join things like social media groups. So I'm pretty sure we'll have like a Facebook group for students that are starting in the next year that you can join. Or if perhaps you're not really one for social media, because I'm not massively like a Facebook person. I'm more of like an in-person person. Regardless of the type of people that you are, there's always going to be something for you at university. So if you're like a social media person, you'll find your crowd. If you're the type of person that prefers in person, you'll find your crowd. And just get excited, really, because it is some of the best years of your life. I think my experience went so quickly. And at the time, 3 years sounded like such a long period of time, and it is, but it all just flies so quickly. So just count yourselves very fortunate that if you do find that you are going to university, you're going to have some of the best years of your life. You're going to make friends for life, and it's going to be such a great experience. And obviously, we do be excited about it. Plan for it, be prepared for it, prepare for results day, prepare for every outcome. As long as you're prepared, you'll be fine. But yeah, definitely do remember that it is a stressful day on results day, but it's also a really positive experience. As you've heard from Yomna and Helena, they both had really positive experiences and both ended up going to universities that they now love. Yomna's even stayed on during the postgraduate course, so obviously she definitely fell in love with the university. So do just bear in mind, as long as you're prepared, everything will work out as it's meant to. Just try and stay calm, make sure you're prepared afterwards. Just be organised, really, and everything will work out as it's meant to. So thank you so much to everyone who joined us for this live stream. This is all the time that we have. I know we've had a couple of questions come in again about CAS letters and that type of thing. Please do refer to the comments that I popped in with the inquiry team's details. The team will be more than happy to help you. At the end of the session, I will pop in the contact details for our inquiries team again and the clearing teams. And thank you again to Yomna and Hunena for joining us. It's been really great to kind of hear a student perspective on results day and how to prepare and both of your unique situations. Everyone results day's journey is different, as you can see, and there's no right or wrong way. As long as you end up where you're meant to be, it will all work out. So do just bear that in mind. And just to reiterate one more time, if you do have any questions on the day, if there's anything that you're concerned with, please do just get in touch with the university you're applying for. I'll pop our contact details in the box and we'll be happy to help you. So thank you again so much, all of you, for joining us, and tune in for our further live streams. I know we'll have some more coming up in the next few weeks. And thank you so much again, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you, guys.
Bye.